The magnitude of this migration crisis, shouldered almost entirely by the New York City taxpayers.
Is bail eligible? There are over 100 crimes that are also can lead to deportation. And
we definitely can. People are frustrated with the way the Democrats have been running things.
An assault on a police officer means that you should be sitting in jail, like there's an individual right now sitting in Rikers.
When they came to the States, what's the expectation, right? They have significant language barrier.
And to help you to establish your goals and to see what we can do as a city to help you get there and to give you that critical period of time.
AOC's Third World District. You know when you see those bustling markets in movies set in exotic locales? Well, imagine that scene, but smack dab in the heart of New York City. That's the reality residents are facing in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's district. It's like a slice of a third world market right in Queens. Trash isn't just a problem, it's practically a fixture on the streets. Overflowing bins, litter strewn about, it's like the garbage has become a permanent resident. And then there are the makeshift flea markets. You know, the kind where vendors set up shop on the sidewalks, selling everything from clothes to toys. But here's the kicker. These vendors aren't exactly playing by the rules. They're not licensed, they're not paying taxes. Heck, some of their goods might even be hot off the stolen goods rack. Now let's talk about Roosevelt Avenue. A bustling street filled not with trendy boutiques or cozy cafes, but with rows of vendors hawking their wares. Clothes stacked high, sneakers lined up neatly. It's a shopper's paradise, or so it seems. But look closer and you'll see the darker side of this so-called market. It's not just about commerce, it's about survival. Enter Ramses Frias, a local resident armed with nothing but his smartphone and a whole lot of frustration. His videos don't paint a pretty picture. They shine a harsh light on the reality of life in the district. You see migrants, faces weathered with hardship, trying to eke out a living by selling whatever they can get their hands on. And then there's Roosevelt Avenue, affectionately dubbed the Market of Sweethearts. But don't let the cute name fool you, it's anything but sweet. Alleged body workers roam the streets, openly soliciting clients, turning the sidewalk into their own personal red light district.
No. I mean, we've always had our share of issues, but right now things are just running rampant. We definitely can. People are frustrated with the way the Democrats have been running things.
Inform everybody and educate them on the outlets and avenues that they can actually take to become a better person.
It's a scene straight out of a gritty crime drama, only this time it's real life. And for the residents living in the midst of it all, it's not just about the inconvenience of navigating crowded streets. It's about feeling like they're living in a forgotten corner of the world's greatest city. But here's the thing. Despite the chaos, there's a sense of resilience in the air. Frias isn't just documenting the problem, he's taking action. And maybe, with enough voices raised and enough determination, change might be on the horizon. After all, even the grittiest market stalls can't withstand the force of a community determined to reclaim its streets.
Send them back. You don't touch our police officers.
Federal immigration authorities say 2 of the asylum seekers arrested for attacking New York City police officers recently.
As you know, the city's already been spending millions of dollars to care for the influx of migrants that have entered the city.
They cannot work to provide themselves. We have to provide food, shelter, clothing, cleaning, education, health care.
Criticism of anti-immigrant policies. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC as she's known, isn't one to mince words, especially when it comes to pointing fingers at what she sees as the root of a problem. And in this case, she's pointing them squarely at anti-immigrant policies. According to AOC, these policies are basically forcing migrants into some pretty dire situations. Think about it. If you're an immigrant trying to make ends meet in a new country, but you're not allowed to work legally, what are you supposed to do? Well, apparently the answer for some is to set up shop on the streets, selling whatever they can to scrape by.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez went from quietly tending bar to loudly challenging the establishment.
Queens look like a third world country, which is why he has decided to launch a bid for local government.
It's immigration. It's nobody's happy. Everybody's unhappy. Everybody's worried.
Now you might think, hey, a little street vending never hurt anybody, right? Wrong. Because when these vendors aren't playing by the rules, no permits, no taxes, it's not just a problem for them, it's a problem for everyone. Local businesses suffer because these unauthorized stalls are basically cutting into their profits. And let's not even get started on the tax issue. Nobody likes paying taxes, but when some folks are skating by without chipping in, it's the whole community that ends up feeling the pinch. But despite New York laws saying only licensed vendors can sell goods in public spaces, these illegal vendors are popping up left, right, and center. It's like playing a game of whack-a-mole. Knock one down and two more pop up in its place. And as if the overflowing trash and crowded sidewalks weren't enough, now you've got unauthorized vendors adding fuel to the fire. So AOC might have a point when she calls out these anti-immigrant policies, because at the end of the day, it's not just about enforcing the law, it's about finding solutions that work for everyone, immigrants included. And until that happens, it looks like the neighborhood is stuck in a never-ending game of street vending roulette. Body selling and crime surge. Alright, buckle up, because we're diving into some gritty stuff now, body selling and crime, and let me tell you, it's not pretty. You're walking down 90th Street, minding your own business, when suddenly you're bombarded with the sight of scantily clad women openly soliciting clients. But here's the silver lining. People aren't just sitting back and letting it happen. They're taking a stand, speaking out and demanding action, because at the end of the day, nobody should have to live in fear in their own neighborhood.
The magnitude of this migration crisis, shouldered almost entirely by the New York City taxpayers.
Figure out exactly who did what. And so they're being smart about making sure that they look at all the evidence.
They say they're looking at the situation. They know this is not the best New York can do. This is not the best the United States can do.
And a coalition for the homeless signed an agreement that the city would provide shelter to anyone who seeks it.
It's a tough situation, no doubt about it, but with enough voices raised and enough determination, maybe they'll start to see some real change. Until then, though, it's a constant battle against the forces of crime and chaos. Call for action and political response. It's time to roll up our sleeves and get down to business. Ramses Frias isn't just another disgruntled resident, he's a man on a mission. Disillusioned with the state of his neighborhood, he's throwing his hat into the political ring, announcing his bid for the Assembly District 39 seat as a Republican. And let me tell you, he's not just in it for the fancy title or the plush office. No, Frias is all about action. He's seen the trash-covered streets, the overcrowded sidewalks, the rampant body selling, and he's had enough. He's ready to roll up his sleeves and tackle these issues head-on. But Frias isn't alone in his fight for change. Assemblymember Catalina Cruz is also on the scene, acknowledging the efforts to address quality-of-life concerns in the neighborhood. But here's the thing. Acknowledging the problem is one thing, but actually doing something about it, that's a whole different ballgame. And that's where Frias comes in. He's not content with just acknowledging the issues. He wants to see real, tangible change. He's calling for more than just band-aid solutions. He's demanding radical change that will improve conditions for every single resident in the district. Because at the end of the day, it's not about political parties or fancy titles. It's about making sure that every person, no matter where they live, feels safe and supported in their community. And if Frias has anything to say about it, that change is just around the corner.
Actually be able to provide the resources so that our system, as it's currently designed, can function.
The unauthorized flea market setting up shop in Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's district.
We don't have our actual paperwork processing so that people can get work permits.
What are they trying to do to change it? There's no team coming out, speaking to these vendors, speaking to...
Incident details and political fallout. Buckle up, because this is one wild ride. You're strolling through Times Square, taking in all the flashy lights and buzzing energy of the city that never sleeps. Suddenly, out of nowhere, chaos erupts. 3 NYPD officers, just doing their job, try to break up a rowdy group outside a migrant shelter, but things go from 0 to 60 real quick. CCTV footage captures the moment when these officers get swarmed by a bunch of assailants. It's like a scene straight out of an action movie, except it's happening right in the heart of New York City. The officers end up with minor injuries, but the whole ordeal leaves everyone shook. Governor Kathy Hochul, a Democrat, doesn't mince words. She's all about tough love, saying authorities should round up the suspects and ship them back where they came from. And she's not alone. Republicans like Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis are fuming, calling the whole thing disgusting and demanding a crackdown on migrants breaking the law. Meanwhile, the NYPD is understandably peeved. The largest police union in the city is scratching its head, wondering why some suspects were let off the hook so easily.
I don't believe people who are violent in our city and commit repeated crimes.
Suspect will be in court this morning, we're told, and he is accused of attacking 2 police officers.
Accused of instigating the group assault on 2 officers in Times Square was back in court. He is being held on $15,000 bail.
Is bail eligible? There are over 100 crimes that are also can lead to deportation. And
they're not holding back, questioning the decisions made by those in charge and demanding answers. And as for the public, well, let's just say they're not sitting quietly on the sidelines. There's outrage, frustration, and a whole lot of finger-pointing going on. People are tired of feeling unsafe in their own city, and they're not afraid to make their voices heard. So there you have it. The alleged attack on police officers in Times Square has sparked a firestorm of controversy. From the streets to the corridors of power, everyone's got an opinion, and they're not afraid to shout it from the rooftops. As the dust settles, one thing's for sure, this ain't over yet. Arrests, releases, and bail. Let's break down the suspects and legal drama surrounding this wild incident. We've got a total of 12 suspects allegedly involved in the attack on those brave NYPD officers. It's like a whole squad of troublemakers causing chaos in the heart of Times Square. Now here's where things get really interesting. 6 of these suspects actually got nabbed by the authorities. But hold your horses, because the story doesn't end there. Out of those 6, 5 of them somehow managed to slip through the cracks and get released on bail. Yeah, you heard that right. Released on bail quicker than you can say justice served. But wait, there's more. One suspect, let's call him the Lone Wolf, is still behind bars. His name's Yohenry Brito, and he's facing some serious charges like second-degree attack and obstructing governmental administration. Tough break for him, huh? Now let's talk legal actions. Yohenry Brito had his day in court. A judge ruled that he'd be held on a $15,000 bail. Ouch, that's gotta sting. But hey, when you mess with the NYPD, you better be prepared to face the consequences.
It's mind-boggling that anyone would want to try to release this dangerous individual.
Including Lieutenant Crane suffered a laceration to his nose, bruising to his face.
From New York Governor Kathy Hochul for a migrant relocation program that's costing $25 million.
I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City.
As for the other suspects who slipped through the cracks, well, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office says they were released because, get this, evidence is still being gathered. Yeah, we know, it sounds like something straight out of a courtroom drama, but hey, that's the legal system for you. Slow and steady wins the race, or something like that. And the plot thickens. Rumor has it that 4 of the suspects hightailed it out of town, hopping on a bus bound for sunny California. Talk about a getaway plan. So there you have it, the suspects and legal action surrounding this wild ride of an incident. From arrests to releases to bail hearings, it's been one heck of a roller coaster. But in the concrete jungle of New York City, anything can happen.
After several suspects accused of attacking a police officer in Times Square were released without bail.
When they came to the States, what's the expectation, right? They have significant language barrier.
And we're totally unprepared to handle that.
You look behind us, there's a park, there's a YMCA there, we have a charter.
Attack on 2 NYPD officers in Times Square. Today, Governor Hochul was fuming over the attack, even threatening to deport the migrants who were involved.
Immigration policy impact. Buckle up, folks, because we're diving deep into the murky waters of immigration policy and its impact on the upcoming election. It's election year. Tensions are running high, and immigration policy is front and center on the debate stage. With over 6.3 million migrants crossing into the U.S. illegally since 2021, you can bet your bottom dollar that this issue is hotter than a New York City summer sidewalk. So what happens when a group of migrants allegedly attacks NYPD officers in Times Square? Well, it's like throwing gasoline on a political fire. Democrats and Republicans alike are coming out swinging, each with their own take on what needs to be done. On one side, you've got folks like New York Governor Kathy Hochul, a Democrat, who's calling for swift action. She's not mincing words. She wants those suspects rounded up and sent packing.
An assault on a police officer means that you should be sitting in jail, like there's an individual right now sitting in Rikers.
Commits a crime against a police officer in the state of New York, and they're not, they've not processed, they're not here legally.
In which many of the accused suspects are newly arrived asylum seekers.
Which is one of the reasons we cannot and will not force other parts of our state to shelter migrants.
And she's not alone. Some Democrats are joining forces with Republicans, calling for tougher immigration laws and stricter enforcement. But hold on, because the other side of the aisle isn't staying silent either. Republicans, like Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis, are outraged. They're pointing fingers, slamming the current administration for what they see as a failure to secure the borders and protect law enforcement. And let's not forget about the public response. People are fired up. They're taking to the streets, flooding social media and demanding action. Some are calling for deportation. Others are pushing for stricter bail laws, and you've even got folks calling for National Guard troops to be sent to the borders. It's like a political powder keg ready to explode. But what does all this mean for the future of immigration policy? Well, it's anyone's guess at this point. With the election looming large, politicians on both sides of the aisle are scrambling to appease their base and win over undecided voters. Will we see tougher border controls? Harsher penalties for those who break the law? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, this incident has reignited the immigration debate like never before. And as November inches closer, you can bet that politicians will be pulling out all the stops to come out on top. Strap in, folks, it's going to be a wild ride. Calls for deportation. Let's dive into Governor Kathy Hochul's fiery response to a recent attack in Times Square. It's been a roller coaster ride of emotion, with tensions running high and the political landscape shifting faster than you can say, New York Minute. From the get-go, Governor Hochul didn't hold back. She came out swinging, condemning the attack in no uncertain terms. Her statement was like a thunderclap in a quiet room, echoing across the city and beyond. She didn't just denounce the violence, she made it crystal clear that attacking our law enforcement officers is absolutely unacceptable. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But Governor Hochul didn't stop there. She kicked it up a notch. She called for action, and action she got. She's taken a stand against violence, called for decisive action, and laid out a plan to prevent future incidents.
And tarnish those overwhelming number who are here following the rules.
And to help you to establish your goals and to see what we can do as a city to help you get there and to give you that critical period of time.
The national leaders are saying we're not going to stop the flow. That's a failed plan.
Ignoring the fact that they have been the enablers on this sanctuary city policy.
Lover or hater, you can't deny that she's a force to be reckoned with. And as the political fallout from this attack continues to unfold, one thing's for sure, Governor Hochul isn't backing down anytime soon. Police union concerns. The recent release of suspects allegedly involved in the Times Square attack has sparked a firestorm of criticism from the police union and raised serious questions about law enforcement procedures. The Police Benevolent Association, representing New York City's finest, didn't hold back in expressing their frustration and concerns. From the moment news broke of the suspect's release on bail, the PBA was quick to condemn what they saw as a grave injustice. In a blistering statement, they lambasted the decision to allow individuals accused of such a heinous crime to walk free pending trial. To the men and women in blue, it felt like a slap in the face, a betrayal of the tireless efforts they put into keeping the city safe, day in and day out. But the PBA's criticism didn't stop there. They raised legitimate concerns about law enforcement procedures and the handling of the case by authorities.
She called out the left for loving the idea of illegal immigrants until they're actually confronted with a crisis on their doorstep.
Immigration reform. Immigration reform is an issue that the mayor is discussing on a federal level.
From Mayor Adams tonight, right here on CBS 2, as the topic of New York's sanctuary city status remains in the headlines.
It's not going to get any better. From this moment on, it's downhill.
As the debate rages on, one thing is clear: the release of suspects in the Times Square attack has ignited a firestorm of criticism and raised serious questions about the efficacy of our criminal justice system. The PBA and others are demanding action, and they won't rest until they get the answers they seek. In a city where justice is supposed to be blind, it's up to all of us to ensure that it remains so. Migrant shelter system. The migrant shelter system in many countries faces a myriad of challenges, ranging from logistical hurdles to humanitarian crises. These shelters are often tasked with providing temporary housing, food, and other basic necessities to individuals and families fleeing conflict, persecution, or economic hardship in their home countries. However, due to a variety of factors, including limited resources, bureaucratic red tape, and political tensions, these shelters often struggle to meet the needs of their residents effectively.
Those resources that asylum seekers are getting in one place, our residents have to go multiple places for.
She's taking a New York City problem and shipping it to upstate counties, who, by the way, are struggling to house their own.
Reached an eye-popping new milestone. There are actually now more people seeking asylum in our city shelters than there are homeless New Yorkers.
As the city aims to put an immigration shelter right there.
Overall, the challenges facing the migrant shelter system are complex and multifaceted. Addressing these challenges requires a concerted effort from governments, humanitarian organizations, and local communities to ensure that migrants are treated with dignity and respect and provided with the support they need to rebuild their lives in safety and security. By addressing issues such as overcrowding, evictions, and inadequate services, we can work towards creating a more humane and effective migrant shelter system that meets the needs of all those who rely on it. Migrant resettlement efforts. Migrant resettlement efforts encompass a range of programs and initiatives designed to help migrants establish new lives in host countries. These efforts often involve providing transportation and various forms of assistance to help migrants integrate into their new communities. While these programs aim to offer support and opportunities for migrants, they also face numerous challenges along the way. One key aspect of migrant resettlement programs is transportation assistance. Many migrants arrive in host countries with limited resources and may require assistance in traveling to their final destinations within the country. As such, resettlement programs often provide transportation options such as bus or train tickets to help migrants reach their intended destinations. Additionally, some programs may offer logistical support, such as helping migrants navigate public transportation systems or arranging for private transportation if needed.
It's an issue dominating the headlines and dividing the nation: immigration.
Should not be allowed to walk the streets of the city of New York if you are committing any form of criminal behavior.
They've been described as migrants from the DA's office and the police officers, so I take them at their words that they know this.
Now, AOC's comments about finding a better solution has not gone down well for her. She has been an avid fighter for immigrant rights.
Despite these challenges, migrant resettlement programs have also achieved notable successes in helping migrants rebuild their lives and contribute to their new communities. By providing essential support and assistance, these programs offer hope and opportunity to migrants seeking refuge and a fresh start. Moving forward, continued investment in resettlement efforts, coupled with efforts to address underlying social and political barriers, will be essential to ensuring the success of migrant integration and fostering inclusive communities. Misinformation and cities clarification. The prepaid debit card program for migrants is a government initiative aimed at providing financial assistance to individuals who have recently arrived in the city. The program offers prepaid debit cards loaded with funds that recipients can use to cover essential expenses such as groceries, transportation, and household necessities. Designed to support migrants as they settle into their new communities, the program aims to alleviate financial strain and facilitate their integration process. However, despite the program's noble intentions, misinformation and public misconceptions have arisen. By providing accurate information and clarifying any misconceptions, city officials aim to build trust and confidence in the prepaid debit card program and ensure that it effectively serves its intended beneficiaries.
City officials confirm a pilot program is being launched to provide certain migrants with prepaid debit cards.
To enable us to get through to those friends or family members across the country and then to rebook you so that you don't have to enter our city system.
And hygiene products. Officials say the pilot program will save the city $7.2 million a year.
The migrant crisis is quite unprecedented.
In addition to addressing misinformation, the city has also taken steps to engage with the community and solicit feedback on the program's implementation. Town hall meetings, community forums, and online surveys have been organized to provide residents with an opportunity to voice their concerns and ask questions about the prepaid debit card program. By fostering open dialogue and communication, city officials hope to foster a sense of transparency and accountability in the management of the program. Moving forward, the city remains committed to ensuring the success and effectiveness of the prepaid debit card program for migrants. By actively addressing misinformation, providing clear and accurate information, and engaging with the community, city officials aim to build trust and confidence in the program and ensure that it continues to meet the needs of its beneficiaries. Mayor's budget decisions. The mayor's budget decisions play a crucial role in shaping the allocation of resources and funding priorities within the city. In recent years, as municipalities face increasing fiscal challenges and competing demands for resources, mayors have been tasked with making difficult decisions regarding budget cuts and spending priorities. These decisions can have far-reaching implications, impacting various sectors and services, including those targeted toward migrant communities. In many cases, budget cuts have resulted in reduced funding for programs and services that support migrants and immigration populations. These programs may include language assistance services, legal aid clinics, job training programs, and cultural integration initiatives. As a result, migrant communities may experience barriers to accessing essential services and support networks, hindering their ability to successfully integrate and thrive in their new environment. Furthermore, budget decisions can also have significant financial implications for the city as a whole. By reallocating funds or implementing austerity measures, mayors aim to address budget deficits, manage debt obligations, and maintain essential services.
The Biden administration is granting nearly 500,000 Venezuelan migrants temporary legal status that will allow them to access work permits.
We need to deport individuals who are here and are committing crimes against our citizenry.
To say they have been waiting for days trying to get information about whether or not there's a bed or someplace for them to stay.
Politics often ends up in a blame game, and probably immigration is the issue where that has most played out recently.
In light of these challenges, mayors must carefully weigh the trade-offs associated with budget decisions and prioritize investments that promote equity, inclusivity, and economic resilience. This may involve exploring alternative revenue sources, implementing cost-saving measures, and engaging with stakeholders to identify innovative solutions to complex fiscal challenges. Additionally, mayors can leverage partnerships with community organizations, philanthropic foundations, and private sector entities to enhance the delivery of services and support for migrant populations. By fostering collaboration and leveraging resources, cities can maximize their impact and ensure that all residents, regardless of background or immigration status, have access to the opportunities and resources they need to thrive. Ultimately, the mayor's budget decisions reflect their vision for the city's future and their commitment to promoting social justice, economic prosperity, and inclusive growth. By prioritizing investments in migrant services and community development initiatives, mayors can create more vibrant, resilient, and equitable cities for all residents.
Formal economy where they're earning a living wage, where they won't be exploited, and then be able to set up, their lives here.
In this shelter here that is supposed to be for people seeking asylum, but right now they tell us
for our own residents who are houseless nests, who need affordable housing, our seniors.
This is a reflection of the fact that the number of displaced people.
Sanctuary City Policy Reevaluation. The mayor's recent U-turn on the sanctuary city policy has sparked intense debate and garnered reactions from various stakeholders across the city. The sanctuary city policy, which was originally implemented to protect undocumented immigrants by limiting cooperation with federal immigration authorities, has been a contentious issue in the city's political landscape for years. The mayor's change in stance on this policy has surprised many, as it represents a significant departure from his previous position and has raised questions about the city's commitment to protecting immigrant communities. While the mayor has cited concerns about public safety and federal funding as reasons for his decision to reevaluate the sanctuary city policy, critics argue that this move undermines the city's values of inclusivity and solidarity with immigrant populations.
The mayor's shift in opinion on sanctuary laws follows a series of high-profile crimes.
The city is providing for migrant men newly arrived from South America, especially if you have a bird's-eye view.
It's the economic strain on the city. We took about $4.3 billion.
We are seeing an increase in the number of migrants arriving at our southern border.
Reactions to the mayor's announcement have been mixed, with some applauding his willingness to prioritize public safety and comply with federal immigration laws, while others have expressed disappointment and outrage at what they see as a betrayal of immigrant communities. Advocates for immigrant rights have voiced concerns about the potential impact of the mayor's decision on the safety and well-being of undocumented immigrants, who may now face increased risks of deportation and family separation. Furthermore, the mayor's reversal on the sanctuary city policy has reignited debates about the role of local governments in immigration enforcement and the balance between public safety and civil liberties. Supporters of sanctuary city policies argue that they are essential for fostering trust and cooperation between law enforcement agencies and immigrant communities, thereby enhancing public safety and community cohesion. In recent years, sanctuary cities have become flashpoints in the broader debate over immigration reform, with some policymakers advocating for stricter enforcement measures and others pushing for more compassionate and inclusive approaches. The mayor's announcement may embolden other jurisdictions to reconsider their sanctuary city policies and could influence the direction of future immigration policy debates. Moving forward, it remains to be seen how the mayor's decision will shape the city's approach to immigration enforcement and immigrant rights. As stakeholders continue to weigh in on this issue and advocate for their respective positions, it is clear that the debate over sanctuary city policies will remain a contentious and complex issue in the city's political landscape for the foreseeable future. Law enforcement challenges. In recent years, law enforcement agencies have faced significant challenges related to crimes and gang activity involving migrants. While the majority of migrants are law-abiding individuals seeking better opportunities and refuge, a small subset may become involved in criminal activities or join gangs, posing unique challenges for law enforcement efforts. One of the primary concerns is the involvement of migrants in various criminal activities, including drug trafficking, human smuggling, and violent crimes. Migrants may be vulnerable to exploitation by criminal networks due to their precarious immigration status and lack of social support networks. Additionally, gang activity among migrant populations, particularly in urban areas, has been a growing concern for law enforcement agencies. These gangs often recruit vulnerable migrants, including unaccompanied minors, and engage in activities such as drug trafficking, extortion, and violent crime. Addressing migrant-related crime poses several challenges for law enforcement agencies. Firstly, there may be language and cultural barriers that hinder communication and cooperation between law enforcement officers and migrant communities. Migrants may be reluctant to report crimes or cooperate with authorities due to fear of deportation or retaliation from criminal organizations.
We have to figure out how we're going to localize the inevitable.
There's a shortage in immigration legal services and a shortage in people who are able to help, but
confronted with it, and they have to explain it to their constituents why their shelters and their cities and their communities are being overrun.
Tens of thousands of migrants arriving from Central and South America and West Africa, straining city resources.
This lack of trust and cooperation can impede investigations and make it difficult for law enforcement to gather intelligence on criminal activities. Furthermore, the transnational nature of migrant-related crime presents logistical challenges for law enforcement agencies. Criminal organizations may operate across multiple jurisdictions, making coordination and collaboration between local, state, and federal authorities essential for effective enforcement efforts. Additionally, the porous nature of borders and the mobility of migrant populations can complicate efforts to track and apprehend criminal suspects. In response to these challenges, law enforcement agencies have implemented various strategies to address migrant-related crime and ensure community security. These efforts often involve community policing initiatives aimed at building trust and cooperation between law enforcement officers and migrant communities. Police departments may also partner with community organizations, immigrant advocacy groups, and other stakeholders to provide support services and resources to migrants.
We don't know who these people are. They could be our enemies.
In our care, this includes the migrants, and over 70,000 have come into the city. And if the state leaders are saying it must stay in New York City, that's a failed plan.
If you already have a trial date, why are they making you sleep out here instead of inside?
Thereby addressing underlying social and economic factors that contribute to criminal behavior. Additionally, law enforcement agencies may prioritize targeted enforcement efforts to disrupt criminal networks and dismantle gang activity among migrant populations. This may involve increased surveillance, intelligence gathering, and strategic deployment of resources to identify and apprehend criminal suspects. Furthermore, collaboration with international law enforcement agencies and diplomatic efforts to address root causes of migration, such as poverty and violence in migrants' countries of origin, can help mitigate the drivers of migrant-related crime. Overall, addressing crimes and gang activity involving migrants requires a multifaceted approach that combines law enforcement efforts with community engagement, social services, and international cooperation. By working collaboratively with migrant communities and other stakeholders, law enforcement agencies can enhance public safety, protect vulnerable populations, and ensure that communities remain secure and resilient in the face of evolving challenges. NYC's Migrant Settlement Challenges. As New York City grapples with implementing a groundbreaking court settlement allowing the Adams administration to regulate shelter stays for most migrant adults, significant uncertainties loom over its execution. With a deadline of April 8th looming, questions regarding shelter waitlists, extenuating circumstances, and access to services remain at the forefront of concerns. The settlement mandates the city to abolish its shelter waitlist, which currently comprises approximately 1,900 single adult migrants. However, the logistics of accommodating these individuals within the city's shelter system present a formidable challenge. While the city aims to secure additional shelter space, the exact fate of those on the waitlist remains uncertain. Efforts to relocate individuals from ad hoc shelter sites to facilities with proper accommodations further complicate the situation, highlighting the urgency of finding viable solutions. While the settlement offers provisions for granting extensions to migrants facing extenuating circumstances or demonstrating significant efforts to secure housing, the criteria for determining eligibility remain ambiguous. The lack of clarity surrounding these terms leaves room for interpretation, raising concerns about consistency and fairness in decision-making processes.
Just 2 days, a group of migrants are going to be forced to pack their bags and move out of local shelters.
To try to stop some of these laws in place, despite the fact that our laws actually conflict with federal law.
The big story right now, migrants continue to flow into the city as frustration is mounting.
We're having to create new space because we don't have any other space we can access in New York City.
However, challenges persist regarding the availability and clarity of resources, as well as the effectiveness of casework services in facilitating migrants' transition to independent living. Bridging these gaps will require concerted efforts from city agencies and community stakeholders to ensure equitable access to services for all migrants. While the settlement represents a milestone in addressing the city's shelter policies, concerns linger regarding its potential impact on street homelessness and migrant welfare. Housing and immigration advocates caution that stringent shelter limits could exacerbate homelessness rates, underscoring the need for comprehensive solutions that prioritize the well-being of vulnerable populations. As the city navigates these challenges, ongoing collaboration and vigilance will be essential in safeguarding the rights and dignity of migrants while upholding public safety and welfare. In navigating the complexities of the migrant settlement, New York City faces a pivotal moment in shaping its approach to migrant services and social welfare policies. The road ahead is fraught with uncertainties, but with concerted efforts and proactive measures, the city can strive towards a more inclusive and compassionate framework that meets the diverse needs of its migrant population. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.